Samurai Maiden. Where do I even begin with this game? Honestly, I wasn't too sure if I was going to be doing this review because I really couldn't bring myself to finish the game earlier, but I said screw it, I'm just going to do it anyway. So this is the PS5 version that I'm reviewing, so I hope you guys enjoy. So the story of Samurai Maiden revolves around a girl named Sugumi who's 500 years in the future, is sent back to the Sengoku period as the Princess of Harmony. With 3 other girls that you meet within the story, you're set on a quest to defeat the Demon King. Honestly, it's just a simple story, which you really get with these types of games. And let's be honest, who really plays these games for the story anyway? Regardless, the story is easy to keep up with, and honestly, it's not the worst storyline in the video game, but it's definitely not the best. The story is also divided into 26 chapters and 1 final chapter, so 27 in total. There are also side missions for the companions that you meet, and they are called bubble encounters, which basically give you a bit more insight into that specific character, basically to give them a bit of development in a sense. These bubble encounters are not really mandatory to do, but honestly you probably end up doing some of them, mainly because some of the skills are locked behind them, which I'll talk about in the next point or so anyway. But yeah, overall story, you get what you get with these types of games. You don't really have the highest depth of story with these types of games anyway, so yeah, it's not bad, but just don't expect it to be the best of the best stories. The gameplay in Samurai Maiden is very basic, especially at the start. You're basically limited to your bread and butter combo, or the light combo I should say, which is just square, 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 and 2 heavy attacks, which are somewhat decent, but let's be honest, I kind of felt annoyed that it was so limited at the start, because I know you're supposed to progress and gain more skills and everything, but to just have 2 combos, or even just a single combo I would call it, at the start was a bit insulting really. But at the same time, I can understand why they limited it at the start anyway. But for us to even get new moves, you have a system in the game where you have to raise the affection level of the 3 companions that you're going with. This is done by defeating enemies with the said companion equipped, and then you get a heart indication next to that character's portrait saying, you've gained a bit of experience for that said character. The maximum level for the affection is level 100, and while it seems it will take forever, honestly it doesn't take forever. Now you can easily just stick with one character, defeat the enemies and just level up that character, but honestly speaking, you're probably just best off leveling all the other characters somewhat equally, because some of them do have certain skills. For example, one has the skill to allow you to parry enemy attacks, not every enemy though, but the usual grunts and stuff, while another one allows you to extend your combos. So yeah, it's basically just got to mix and match to an extent, but by the end of the game I got one character to level 99, and that's mainly because the final boss gives so much XP for it that it's ridiculous. You can easily farm it within 2 to 3 runs pretty much, and you're done really with the unlocking and everything. But again, to talk about this affection thing, some moves are actually locked behind the character's side stories, which is obviously another way to just explore the character, and it's in another way as well. Now I know some people might not like that, being forced to do side stuff for new moves and everything, but the side missions are not even that long. Honestly, you can skip the cutscenes if you want to, because that's what takes up most of the time with the missions and stuff, is the cutscenes. Well, I would even call it cutscenes, it's them basically just talking for 10 to 15 minutes pretty much. But overall, once I started to get new moves, it did become a bit more bearable in the game. But again, it still felt lackluster, because I thought with this game, there'll be a bunch of new moves and everything, but honestly you're pretty much just gonna do the same combos over and over and over again, so yeah, on the gameplay front, I was slightly disappointed. Now, although you do get new weapons in the game for yourself and for your companions, it doesn't really change that much. It can change some properties for especially for the companions, it can change some properties of their attacks, but for you yourself, the main character, your attacks are still more or less the same. So by the time I even got the first new weapon, my first weapon was at level think level 13 or 14 already by that point, and because the HP doesn't even carry over to like the new weapons and stuff, I felt like there's no point in me leveling up right now because I'm just going to be at a disadvantage with some of these later enemies and bosses. The level design in the game is very linear. You basically pick a mission, watch them talk for like 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes even more, and then you go through the level and beat the boss. Of course, there are collectibles to be obtained within these missions, like some of them are like memory fragments, which are basically like concept arts for the characters and like stages and stuff before they made their final decision. And you can also get more ninja equipment for yourself, which like gives you a better chance at some of these levels anyway. So you can gain more mines, you can gain more bombs, decoys. Although with the decoys and the healing urn, I only managed to have 2 as a maximum, and I'm not too sure if there's any more, but I did find like the majority of the chest in like each level, and it just seems that they really limited it, those 2, mainly because they're probably like one of the best 2 really. Now the decoy, it doesn't really work on the mini bosses and stuff, but like for the grunts and everything it does kind of work. Well, not kind of, it does work. Even the healing urn, I felt they should have gave us a bit more, mainly because there were certain bosses, a specific one as well, where it was just all over the place sometimes, and if you die you go back to the checkpoint. If you die again, you basically got to redo the whole mission, which, you know, I guess it tells you to play somewhat safe, but it does get annoying where sometimes you're on the floor and they're just attacking you and you can't even recover quick enough. Now on that point, the enemy design in the game is okay at best. You don't have a lot of variety, I would say, and the fact that there's a lot of reskins as well, which honestly I'm not surprised, but I'm kind of disappointed as well. Maybe I thought they could, you know, do a bit more of the enemies in there, but yeah, I guess not. Of course, these reskin enemies are tougher than the usual ones that you face like at the start of the game. Some of them do have slightly altered moves, but all in all they still more or less work the same way as you fought them the first time. The difficulty in the game are split into 3 categories, which are normal, hard and demonic. Normal is what you start off with, there's no easy mode or anything in the game, and then you obtain hard mode once you finish the main game, and then the same goes for demonic when you finish it on hard. At the start of the game, I won't lie to you, it was very, very easy. Like the enemies were basically like statues at that point really. They rarely attacked you. Even if they did, you've got so much time to avoid them. But later down the line, some enemies were a bit more aggressive, especially the mini bosses. Some of them got quite aggressive near to the end of the game, and sometimes they had like 2 of the same, which one of them, I think it was chapter 25, is probably one of the worst combinations ever. And it was like some monkey type of boss, which honestly I hated because it just had so much damage. It could stun you, and even when you're stunned it'll still attack you on the floor, so you're basically like left for dead pretty much. But overall the game wasn't that hard. Eventually I did find a way, like you can, with these games you can easily like cheese half the bosses. So once I got a certain move which is called the Fury Stab, literally every boss became like a cakewalk because you can literally just stun lock them into it, which you know, it kind of just defeats the whole difficulty thing in the game really. But yeah, honestly the game is not that difficult to go through, especially if you get like good abilities as well. Now the performance of this game, oh yeah, that's something we gotta talk about. So I have the PS5 version, and I was very disappointed when there was a lot of frame drops in the game for some reason, and honestly I could not understand why. You know, like the PS5 itself, we all know it's powerful, and these frame drops, especially for a game like this which is not even like super demanding, I was just like, what the hell is even going on here really? You know, like certain areas I would have to wait for like probably like 10 to 20 seconds for it to calm down and be stable again. Now thankfully it didn't happen when I'm fighting enemies or bosses, but even when I was traversing some areas you could feel it really bad. So that goes to the team. I don't know what optimization they done for the console, but yeah, the PS5 version, you will see a lot of frame drops if you're playing on it. Now, I can't speak for PC or Switch or even PS4 for that matter, but I would assume it probably could be the same. Maybe it could be better on some of them, because I know certain games on PS5, they have an issue for whatever reason. It happened with Kurono Kiseki 2 as well. Like, the PS5 version was even worse than like the PS4 version somehow. But again, would they patch it? Hard to say, but honestly, I think they should patch it because it's very noticeable. Overall though, the performance, most times you would get a solid 60 FPS, but yeah, it can easily just chuck down whenever it wants to. Oh, now we've come to like the part where I think most people will be wondering what's happening. Censorship. Yes, you read that right. There is censorship in the game. I know people just hate that word anyway. This is mainly when you're trying to take the you-know-what shot, really. I can't even say it with a straight face, really. But essentially, when you're playing the game, there's like no censorship, so you can actually see like the underwear and stuff. But when you do pause it at that certain frame or try to do photo mode or whatever, it basically has a black void there, which, honestly, personally, me, I am not too fast, but I can see a lot of people being pissed off about it, and that's bad of me saying I'm not too fast, because like, okay, you support censorship, blah blah blah, which I don't. But again, it's like really hard to get away with this stuff now, because a lot of games suffer from it, especially like anime games. Back in the day, not as much, but now it's just like they're clamping down in it, especially like on PlayStation. PC, I think it has it. Well, it probably will have it, maybe. I don't know. We shall see when it comes out. Switch has it. Obviously, PS4 will have it as well as PS5, which is what I played on anyway. But again, with the PC people, I'm pretty sure they'll just like mod it out or whatever. I don't think it'll take too much effort for them to do. But yeah, if you want to go for those shots, you essentially have to like go through some hoops, really. Now we've come to the end of the video, and honestly, while the game has a decent foundation, I feel that it falls flat on what it's trying to do, and for the price that they're asking for, I really cannot recommend buying it full price. I'll just say wait for a sale for it, especially that Steam regional pricing just seems to be all over the place. So those people in like South America stuff, like they have it hard with these regional prices. So honestly, just wait for a sale. And honestly speaking, I wasn't even like, I found it very hard to finish the game. Like, there were certain points where I was just like, bro, this is just dragging out too long, and certain enemies were just pissing me off. But I said, you know what, let me come back the next day, which I did, and then I found it somewhat more enjoyable. I think I was just like tired at that point when I was getting very pissed off. A quick note, as for like the Yuri stuff in the game, it's there, but it's like kind of mellowed down more or less. I'd say it's not like in your face, it's just subtle stuff here and there. So if you're trying to buy it for all the Yuri stuff, you're not really going to get much in it, I would say. But yeah, overall, I'll probably give the game a 5 out of 10, and I think that's just me being very generous at this point. So yeah, if you enjoyed the review, let me know. If you didn't, let me know as well. Feedback is always nice. Got any questions? Comments are down below. Twitter is there. I might make a Discord in the future. I don't know, we shall see. But yeah, this is your boy CG Inferno, and I'll see you guys later.